I've seen a lot of YouTube videos on the best games of the decade, and one of the most prevalent has been CD Projekt RED's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Since Henry Cavill's perfect ass graced Netflix, there's been an influx of people playing the game, actually more active players on Steam than its original launch. And with the second season of the TV show on its way, as well as rumours of a fourth installment to the games, let's take this opportunity to look into why The Witcher 3 is awesome. If there is a word which sums up much of The Witcher 3, it is effort. For example, the combat. Most RPGs which spring to mind aren't thought of for their combat. Often the fidelity of combat is sacrificed for the amount of content expected in an RPG. The Witcher 3, however, has a combat system which could carry its own game. Rather than simply switching between slashing and spells, playing as Geralt makes a player strategize in each encounter. It's a system which engages your brain as well as your thumbs. Yet at the same time, the variety of combat strategies allows each player to engage in these encounters in a way which suits them personally. If you're in the mood for some epic swordplay, you have it. And if you prefer spells and potions, that's also no problem. But for inhuman monsters such as griffins, werewolves and spirits, you're essentially gifted a fun boss battle. Each monster has its own strengths, weaknesses, movements, and codex entry. Gearing up to take on these beasts is helped most by exploring the world around you. While on a contract to find these monsters, Geralt takes on a detective-like role, hearing of the monster from a town notice board, investigating sites of previous attacks to deduce what he's up against, and meeting those who have had encounters firsthand. It's at these points the fantastic dialogue system of the game is on full display. In an RPG of its size, custom animated cutscenes are understandably few and far between. Players of Mass Effect or Horizon Zero Dawn will be familiar with database generated dialogue systems, but The Witcher 3 has one of, if not the most detailed dialogue systems out there. The animations are so seamlessly blended and the overall direction so strong, you'd be fooled into thinking this is a hand animated cutscene. Along with an elaborate skill tree and inventory upgrade system, there isn't a single aspect of The Witcher 3's gameplay which has been half-assed, something which is also true for the game's presentation. It's worth noting that the current version of The Witcher 3 has the benefit of several years of patches, but even those patches are indicative of the effort which informs the great gameplay. The Witcher 3 looks gorgeous. The principle behind its design is, much like the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy, practical and realistic, but also stylized and memorable. The world is so full of cool swords and armor, plenty of material for cosplayers and the like. But beyond the design, what makes the world so special is just how alive it feels. While galloping along dirt roads with the best steed ever, Roach, your eyes will always be caught by the beautifully animated animals, as well as the incredible lighting system. While walking around towns and cities, your attention will also be taken by the NPCs, the random conversations which can reflect the larger plot of the game, or simply give you a brief glimpse into their lives. It's a world which feels lived in and thriving instead of a Ubisoft map for objective markers. You don't explore it to fill out a checklist, you explore to experience more of the world itself, finding new weapons, encountering new quests, simply seeing what else is there. The world is so natural feeling, the more adult subject matter doesn't feel out of place or exploitative. The story of The Witcher is, on paper, not the most original. Geralt searches for his ward Ciri, who possesses the ability to travel between worlds. This has made her the target of the Wild Hunt, a powerful sorcerer who seeks this power to reshape the world. However, while this main quest is engrossing and enjoyable, what makes The Witcher 3 so memorable are its side quests. Side quests feel so naturally integrated into the world, it's easy to simply fall into one without knowing about it. Think less of an accept or decline, and more like a random tavern brawl turning into a murder mystery or even a bank heist. These are the quests which really stick with you after playing The Witcher 3. Often these quests are just as deep and layered as the main quest, full of twists and turns, complex characters, and an incredible amount of player choice. Much like the presentation, there is a massive amount of effort put into the RPG side of The Witcher 3. My personal favourite side quest, Open Sesame, in which you're hired by a lord's brother to pull off the medieval fantasy equivalent of Ocean's 11, you yourself get to choose who gets on your team. From a caged lockpicker you must free with a game of cards, or a suicidal dwarf demolition expert. And depending on who you pick dictates how the heist is executed, who double crosses you, and if you can make off with the treasure yourself. That's just one example of an experience which felt tailor-made for me without being signposted as any kind of restrictive binary choice. And the fallout of my choices had a real impact on the world, which felt natural. The actions of the player and the consequences feel like they're a part of the fantastically written narratives already present in the game. I feel like the quests in The Witcher 3 are some of the best I've ever played. Not just in the fantasy RPG genre, but in gaming as a whole. When picking up the game, even after many playthroughs, there's always so many new ways to experience those stories again, and so many to discover for the first time. Much of the great things about The Witcher 3 are of course down to its developer and publisher CD Projekt RED. In a world of Bethesda's and Ubisoft's and EA's, in which players feel like they have to stage a pitched battle to actually get the game they want out of these companies, CD Projekt RED delivers what players want up front and honestly. They take a hard stance against anti-consumer practices such as restrictive DRM, microtransactions, and tacked-on DLC. They actually release finished games. You wouldn't think that's an accomplishment, but apparently other companies think otherwise. Despite the billions of dollars larger companies have to work with, it seems as though companies like EA want to use that money to exploit rather than create, whereas CD Projekt RED do their damnedest to create more with less. There's a passion for these games which is evident in the finished product. However, sometimes that passion can be misplaced, and it would be remiss of this video not to touch on the criticism CD Projekt RED has received with regards to crunch. While working long hours on something you love is to be respected, a good game is never worth damaging people's well-being over. While there isn't time to get into detail about all this here, a great video by James Charlton gives this industry-wide issue the attention it deserves. In short, crunch time, not people, and hopefully CD Projekt RED, being the reputable company they are, takes this on board and strives to fix these issues. The Witcher 3 is a game that puts many others and their respective studios to shame. Rather than coasting by on a known brand or extorting players with microtransactions, The Witcher 3 is worth its price tag and then some. The effort which has gone into every part of the game is astounding. An incredible alive feeling world to explore, filled with almost countless engaging and well-written stories. It's a game which shows gamers they don't have to settle for less to get a great experience. The Witcher 3 is proof that, no matter how many Goliaths like Bethesda fall, there will always be a CD Projekt RED to give us the games we love. The Witcher 3 has had a passionate player base for half a decade, and will continue to maintain that base for many years to come. It is the benchmark not only for other RPGs, but for video games in general, and that is why The Witcher 3 is awesome. So what's your pick for Game of the Decade? This video is the first among a brand new channel, so subscribing, liking or sharing would be great to help the channel grow. Thanks so much for watching, ciao for now, and have a good one.